Hey, Shift Yes Tribe, we are wrapping up our month around change and navigating change. And this last sort of piece that I want to add that I think is an important mindset and tool for teams to adapt and be aware of is this idea, this concept that I've heard before that I love very much, which is disagree and commit. That decisions are going to happen in your lifetime, in your team, in your organization, and you might not necessarily agree with those decisions, but it's so critical for us as a team to say that, like, even when a decision is made, even if you don't agree with it, it's still important to like move forward and give your best and commit. And I think that that is an important piece because you can cause so much damage and sabotage to a team when somebody's like bent about some decision that they didn't like or agree with, and then as a result of that, they sabotage, right? They actively don't try in order to sort of like prove themselves right or make sure that like this direction that we take is not successful. And it's such a crippling thing for teams if people don't have that mindset of like, hey, you don't have to agree with everything, but your ownership, your responsibility here on this team is to support other people in the organization and try and commit and like be involved and invested. And the way to make that happen is to incorporate everything else we've talked about this month around change, right? So just as a recap, in terms of a how do you address and deal with change effectively in an organization is, number one, to adopt a mindset of being open and receptive to change, not reluctant to it, but just to remain present and say, we know that change is gonna come, so when it does, we're just open and we'd be like, okay, cool, how do we navigate this? Number two was to be willing to challenge the way that you've always done things, right? And just like to put anything on the table and say, is this the best way to do this thing, and be always willing and open to adapting and improving and being more exceptional, not just holding tight to the way that we've always done things. Number three is to communicate change well. So when the change is coming, to unpack and explain the why. Like, this is the why behind this decision, and give people an opportunity and some space to say, hey, these are my concerns, these are my fears, I disagree with that, right? Leave space for dialogue with your team and people so that you can obtain their buy-in by giving them an opportunity to say, hey, to like be a sounding board and say, this is what I think. And when all those things are in place, also have this intentional mindset of disagree and commit, that when a decision is made, all of us are like oars in the water, we're all rowing together, and that's like so important. So great month, great topics. Change was really fun to sort of tackle this month. That's it, we'll see you next month.